And I still think there's a lot of that that's going on there. But I remember it was actually Oliver O'Donovan, who was the professor leading the seminar, pointing out, as he does in the book, you've got to realise that the amazing change that happened, from the church just finding itself totally and utterly marginalised, persecuted, and so on, to suddenly finding someone with the sort of power that Constantine had, saying that they had a revelation of Christ and his cross, and they were a follower. That's a major shift that has taken place, and it's not surprising if certain people overplayed exactly what God was doing and what was going on there. But there is that danger of legitimation, and that's a constant critique that comes, particularly from where we are now in history, of this whole period of Christendom, that the Christian church lost that radical, revolutionary, critical edge and became totally sold on just supporting and becoming part of even the establishment structures. So Christian thought had to develop in the light of changing situations. It moved from being, we've seen how Israel coped in relation to the nations, the apostolic church, the early church on the margins. Now we have to say, well, what is the boundary of political authority in the light of Christ's rule, in the light of the fact that there is the church with its own leadership and authority? What is the role of the emperor in the wider political society, and the role of the bishop, the pope, or whatever? How do these two relate to each other, and how do they each relate to the rule of Christ, when both in some sense are saying they acknowledge the lordship of Christ? Rulers, we've seen from Romans 13 and elsewhere, are part of the old order. They're not part of the new creation. They are part of God's way of working with a fallen and broken world. But if Christians come into this role, then surely they are to act in that role as followers of Christ. What does that mean?